Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn and David Dollar.
Well, hey, Jenn.
Hey, Dale.
It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast. And, of course, there is a good friend, Kyla. Hello, Miss Kyla. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Today, we're going to be talking about Disneyland Paris, and we've got a lot to get to. We got some news to get to. We'll get to some crappy stories, which are blowing my mind right now, and you'll see where that pun comes in. We're going to talk about that because I just don't understand. I don't understand
why we're talking about this.
As an agency owner, you have to help me understand this.
I don't think
Kyla, as somebody who's of the world and who is, in New England or whatever. I don't know what that means with anything, but you have to help me understand what's going on with this story. We'll get to it. But first, Jenn, how did you Disney this week?
Oh gosh. So this week I am Disneying by preparing to go to Disney. So with all of my trips coming up, we have Jollywood nights that we are going to.
Yes, we
do.
A
bunch of us from the agency are going down. It's not an agency trip, but just a lot of us wanted to go down for some of these things for Christmas. And so I am prepping, getting my Jollywood nights outfit together. It's gonna be epic.
I can't wait.
It's a fun thing because Kyla called our good friend Alexa, the Downeaster Alexa, who's also one of our agents, and they were like, "Hey, you want to go to Disney?" And she's like, "Hey, let's go to Disney." And so they said, "Hey, y'all, we're going to Disney," and a bunch of people said, "We'll go too." And suddenly we have a massive weekend with a bunch of people all congregating together. That's what happens.
And then they were all going down. I'm like, "Well, shoot, I'm going to go."
That's what happens. All your friends love Disney. It's like we'll just all go to Disney together, which is great. Kyla, how did you Disney this week?
I too am preparing for our holiday trip next week. I also booked another trip to Disney because I just want to go. So me and my dad and the kids.
It'll be so awesome.
Very nice. So I am a proponent of I'm a physical media person. I love Blu-rays. I love CDs, even though a lot of my stuff is digital. I like having physical copies on my hand. And there was a shop in town here. It's a thrift shop, and they have a lot of CDs on the shelf there. And most of the things I don't care about. But there are a lot of things, if you go through there, I go through there about once every 2 weeks or so and kind of rifle through and see what's there. And for $1, you can grab a CD, maybe an old CD, a new CD. But for $1, I grabbed this little puppy, the Lanuba soundtrack from Cirque du Soleil.
Oh my gosh.
Randomly plopped in the middle of like a Harry Connick CD and some other CD or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's Lanuba. I mean, and of course, this is kind of weird because you look at the that's a little freaky right there. And if you think that's freaky, check out the actual disc itself. I'm showing you. It's a little crazy. She's screaming at me, right? But all the music of the show is on here. It's the show that was before Drawn to Life, which I have not seen. Jenn, have you seen this show, Drawn to Life?
I have seen Drawn to Life. Yes.
How is it?
It is a beautiful show.
And how does it compare to Lanuba, other than the fact it's actually Disney and not just,
Well, yeah,
Lanuba?
I mean, the first thing would be like, Drawn to Life is actually very Disney-esque, very Disney inspired. Like you can almost see like the backstory is about an animator and animations like coming to life. So it's drawn to life, right?
Right.
There is still the spectacle. It's still the Cirque du Soleil that you love. I think the story in Drawn to Life is so much more cohesive because it's it is that Disney storytelling. It is a beautiful, beautiful show.
It seems much more simple because Lanuba, I love Lanuba. I've seen Lanuba. I saw Lanuba like 3 or 4 times when it was there. And I was telling Kyla in the pre-show, I love some of the acrobatics and I love the wall walking and all the music and everything.
Yeah, of course.
But it's really like, it's almost like, what is the story here that I'm looking at?
There wasn't a lot of a story for Lanuba.
I'm just seeing segment after segment of dancing and acrobatics and trapeze and things like that, but not actually a story. So I'm looking forward to see Drawn to Life and maybe
there's still the acrobatics. You still have like a bunch of the cool things. So
maybe we can squeeze it all in next weekend amongst the fireworks cruise and the Wild Africa Trek and the Jollywood Nights and the night at Disney Springs and my pocketbook is never going to recover. It's really
it's like the Tiger King.
Right?
Financially,
I mean, never recover from this. It's crazy. So let's jump on a little bit of news here. All right. So first of all, let's talk about the Skyliner. And I just want to mention this because I don't think we've talked about it yet. The Skyliner closed for maintenance during January 2024 or January 16th. Okay, so write this down, folks, in case you haven't seen it. Although if you go to Disney on $1 on my page, you can see it because I posted about it. But January 16th through the 21st, the Pop Century, Art of Animation, and Caribbean Beach Resort line will be closed, and the line between Caribbean Beach and Hollywood Studios will be closed.
Yes.
The 16th through the 27th, so an extra week there, the line between Caribbean Beach, Riviera, and International Gateway at Epcot will be closed. So for 2 weeks, you can't get to Hollywood. For 1 week, you can't get to Epcot, whatever. It's all kind of crazy. There, I'll have to have like a whiteboard here with arrows and notes and stuff.
Like
but
hand notes.
Skyliner, pay attention. Call your travel agent. Pick us, and we will be happy to walk you all through that. The gingerbread houses have gone up at Grand Floridian. We talked about that in the Christmas preview last week, and of course now they're all up and all bright and shiny, as well as the Frozen Holiday Surprise Show. It's a 7-minute show happening. I believe it's 6:15 every night, and then at 8:15 for the party nights, the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. It's also happening. So on party nights, it happens twice. Other nights, it happens once, which I'm hearing is a great little show, projections and fireworks. And of course, you get snow geese on the castle, which everybody loves a good snow geese. Why not? Luminous. Epcot's Luminous coming on December the 5th.
Yes.
Now, we have got a look. Disney has given us a first look at this. And are we excited about Luminous? I mean, does the show sound like it's going to be cool? I mean, are we happy about Luminous? Do we miss the other stuff?
Sure.
Kyla.
Looks good. Looks good.
So let me run through the information about Luminous here. This is what Disney has released. You can World Showcase will come to life as we hear voices from each pavilion welcoming us to this great gathering. There's the original song called Heartbeat Symphony, which is a very Epcot show sounding song.
Oh yes, very much
Symphony.
so.
It's a sweeping ballad. This one comes from you right at the gate. So there is that. The symphony will take us to the tender love of parenthood, highlighted by songs like You'll Be in My Heart. Then there will be another song from Corazon that I can't pronounce. I'm not going to try because I don't want to appropriate. Friendship follows. You'll get classic songs like You've Got a Friend in Me and Friend Like Me. For the sweeping arrangement of So Close, it's a hidden gem from Disney's Enchanted. Of course, I know exactly what that is, and I love that movie.
Yes, you do.
So yes, it's the romance movement celebrating the moments when we find somebody with whom our melody blends. Who writes this? Of course, we also experienced loneliness and loss. So the sad part comes in with Remember Me from Coco and When She Loved Me, which I will argue might be the saddest song in all of Disney. All of Disney. And it's a forgotten song.
Yeah. It's
Toy Story 2. It's when Jessie gets left on the side of the road and she looks through the cardboard cutout at Ellie driving away.
I can't. Why? Just stop. I can't. Just.
Oh my gosh. It's just
stop.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
But Disney is being Disney in this nighttime show. We have love. We have
thankfully, no parents are dying, which I'm surprised because it's a Disney show. But
no, because the parents already died. That's it.
That's true. That's true. But those songs, When She Loved Me and Remember Me, will bring us to Into the Unknown. And as we come out of the darkness, the music crescendos. That's a Jenn word right there because she's musically inclined. The music crescendos to I See the Light from Tangled. And the second original song, The Beating of Our Hearts. This is where, Kyla, this is where we all come together as one and we find our place, not in the circle of life, but the symphony of life.
Around the world. We find our
around the
place
world. Exactly.
World, and we pick our favorite country and go get a drink.
Yes. I was
that's what we
say,
do.
for Kyla, we find our place in the great margarita of life. So yes, music will play a critical role in telling this tale. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking forward to this show. I think I'm looking forward to this more than most people because I've read up on it. I've seen some of the videos you can find online, and it looks cool. Harmonious. My problem with Harmonious was it was so hard to follow if you weren't in just the right spot.
Correct.
And there was so much like music on the projections on the water and things like that, which is great for World of Color out there. But here was like,
But
so
you couldn't see it all the time, and that was my issue.
Exactly. That was a problem too. And so I'm actually looking forward to some of this. Apparently, American Idol runner-up Catherine McPhee is going to be premiered in this as well. She's not going to be there, not every night anyway, but some of her music is there. Singer-songwriter Shalea. I don't know who this is. Shelea. Shalea. I don't know. But she also is having her songwriting and singing talents in this as well. Pinar Toprak, who has done work on the film soundtracks and also Epcot Anthems at Night by Spaceship Earth. She will be premiered. So for somebody out there listening to this show, they're like, I know exactly who those people are. They're excited. For me, I'm just going to take my Disney's word for it.
It'll be amazing.
I don't know who these people are. I don't, but it sounds cool. I'm looking forward to it. December 5th. It's probably going to be absolutely nuts the first few weeks or so.
Most likely,
But It's going to be cool. Of course, Spaceship Earth has a new show debuting on November 22nd. They're going to be doing some of these stuff from the Disney animated film Wish. Not the cruise line, but
not the Disney Wish.
Not the Disney Wish, but
the
the actual. What's Disney? It's
Epcot.
Disney's Wish, but it's not Disney Wish. So keep that straight. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, I have to ask about this because I don't understand this headline. I saw this headline in a couple of places yesterday. And we're not going to dive too far into this, but I do want to mention this. So guests are apparently using the bathroom in Disney queues. And the headline I saw multiple places was they're still doing it, which means that people haven't been doing this before. Now, I'd like to think that I am somebody in tune with Disney news. I follow a lot of blogs. I listen to a lot of podcasts. We have a Disney podcast. I've not heard of this problem. Jenn, is this a problem that we should be, is this a problem we should be noticing? I've never heard of this. What is this?
I had never heard of this before you said something. So like, honestly, I didn't, everybody's been in line and like, oh shoot, I've really got to go to the bathroom. Like, hey, I'm going to duck out. Can you let me back in? And you just kind of explain. And usually people are pretty cool because, if you got to go, you got to go. And normally the cast members are pretty cool about it because if it's a long line, but I've never heard of people actually defecating in.
I wasn't going to say it, but yes, but that's what it is. That's what the headlines are. The headlines
nice
are like,
word. I said
guests are still pooping in Disney queues. What?
Like how?
Like apparently.
Also, the logistics I have questions about. And don't do this, people. Let's just make a blanket statement. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Like you're doing it with everybody watching. Like, are they just like reaching too far and it was like a child, or are we talking about like grown adults like taking a squat? Like
because like
there are
like 2-year-old.
All
right,
apparently. The
2-year-old you could be like, well, they're 2,
right?
Like.
Right. Well, my kid was when he was 2 or 3. I think there was one time he dropped trowel and put it into the bushes, and I didn't realize what he was doing until it was too late. And by that time, you can't stop him.
But again, it's a kid, and people
exactly. It's a kid. He's off in the corner, whatever. He's probably watering some grass. It's fine, right? It's hot in the summer, so they need the
like you teach them like, no, you can't do this, but
apparently there was one section of the Flight of Passage hallway called the poop hallway.
I don't even know what hallway this is.
And they've actually said, well, there are pictures of it. They've actually put bathrooms in the queue that way you can go.
Good.
So
how
folks,
did they
if
just
you're out there
in a bathroom?
Like also you leave, like if you gotta go that bad, you leave the line and go to a toilet. Okay. Like
secondly, I didn't know this was an option because one of the first times I was ever actually on Flight of Passage, we were with my kid and we got to for those of you who are familiar with the queue, you get down to the bottom of the ramp, right there where the cast members are, and they will tell you go to number 4, number 3, number 2. We're there. I know exactly. And my kid decides he has to go to the bathroom. So while the rest of my family goes on Flight of Passage after waiting all this time, I have to take him out of the entire ride to go find a bathroom. And I'm like, is this such an option? Could I just have him drop trowel over here in the corner and be fine? I mean, what,
I don't think that was the hallway. That's probably not the hallway.
Yeah, that's not the hallway. But and also Roger the Resistance, that's a problem too. And I don't understand. There's actually a Reddit thread where one cast member said, bodily fluids no longer bother me after working at Disney. This is one of the most disturbing things I'll see at the park. We put up a camera and that didn't stop it at all. Even
if you're like, no, this is cool. Like, I don't understand.
And our show's better than this. I don't know why Kyla even brought it up. So, all right,
Kyla.
Just wanted to mention that this conversation is out there. Disney is trying to stop it, and there are bathrooms. There, as always, Disney will adapt. There are bathrooms in place, and if you don't see a bathroom, tell a cast member, hey, I just had Los Angeles and over in Mexico, and I gotta go. I gotta go like right now. And cast member will take care of it. They will put you to a bathroom somewhere.
They will get you to a restroom.
Yes, the hallways are not an option. Let's just say this. It's not. It's not like every cast member is different. No, it's not an option.
Don't do that.
Don't. And if something happens, there are gift shops everywhere. Spot new clothes, and I've done that with my kid before too.
Hey,
so speaking of, let's get to something totally much more cleaner and safer and better. Let's talk a little bit about Disneyland Paris because you guys got to go to the DLP. So how did this happen? What happened? Let's set this up. Let's set this trip up. Did you spend a week there, a month there, a day there? What, Jenn, Kyla? Tell me what's going on with DLP.
Well, we decided to do a trip to London and piggyback off Frank's work trip. And then Jenn and Brady were like, why don't we combine it with Paris? okay. So we did that. And then I was like, well, if we're in Paris and we're like 30 minutes from Disneyland Paris, like we kind of have to go.
And we were like, well, we did say if we came back to Paris, we would definitely do Disneyland Paris. So let's do it.
So we Ubered over there one day with our
We sure did. We sure did. We Ubered right over there. So
or it's two people who've been to Magic Kingdom many times, probably just this month, many times. And of course, Disneyland a couple of times each as well. First of all, your first initial thoughts when you get there. I'm sure that you guys were kind of prepped for it. You knew kind of what to expect, but you're walking up to the park, walking in the gates, your first impressions of this park.
I mean, we were both just so excited.
The castle.
Oh my gosh, right?
The castle was as pink as my sweater. And it was just like, it was just so pretty. I mean, I feel like pictures and videos just don't do it justice, actually being there. And then they have these like twirling kind of abstract artsy like metal princesses all front.
And even villains.
Yes, and the villains too. So it was really cool. It's cool being in a park that seems very familiar and yet different at the same time, as you know, cliche as that sounds.
But then like we were walking through and you actually walk through their, it's not the Disneyland Hotel. I can't think of what it's called, but like it's their equivalent of their like their pink hotel, like flagship hotel, right? And you're walking through and you're like, oh, okay, hang on. And then like suddenly like you're like, oh my gosh, there she is. Like it was amazing.
Is it Belle's castle out there since you're in France? Is that what the princess it's themed after? Is Belle, or am I?
I believe they were inspired by all the princesses, and that's why you see a little bit of a different, like the turrets are in, like one turret will be inspired by Jasmine, and then Belle. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was in the behind the attraction.
Yeah, that's as I recall, that is what that one is, and someone can add us if we are incorrect. But it is like, I would say it reminds me, it's more reminiscent of Cinderella Castle than Sleeping Beauty Castle, if you were going to compare it to one. But there are those elements of like Belle's technically would be Beast's Castle because you know Belle.
Okay, right.
Beast's Castle.
Well, I mean, they got together at the end, so it is kind of Belle's castle.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's
once
true.
they're together, what's his is hers. You're both married. You know how this works.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah.
But there's like a Maleficent dragon in the bottom of the castle, which we didn't get to see because they had it closed, so we couldn't. I was like, dang. But then there's a Sleeping Beauty vignette walkthrough in the top of the castle, so it was like an actual walkthrough attraction, which again is more reminiscent of Disneyland, whereas you're not really walking through the castle in Magic Kingdom.
Reminiscent of all the princesses, it's almost like a castle version of the royal rooms at Port Orleans Riverside, because all the little princess things like that. And so so you get to the castle. Let's talk attractions. What's there that you're not going to find over here? Let's talk about the versions of rides, Small World, Haunted Mansion, things like that. Give us some of your favorites. Give us an overview.
Oh gosh.
Well, we started in Adventureland. We did Pirates, which is it reminded me a little bit of Disneyland's, kind of like just at the beginning. It's like a little bit longer. What was after Pirates?
So that one is, I would say, was a hybrid between World and Land, because there's not as long as Land, but more reminiscent of Land.
And the land itself is a little bit more built up. So they have a skull rock that you can like walk into, and there's like a little bit more kind of like paths and whatever. So that
like
part's
exploratory
really
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was great. Haunted Mansion and Big Thunder we both did, which were a little different. Haunted Mansion is definitely different, actually.
Well, Haunted Mansion is Phantom Manor over there.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And that was so cool. It was creepier. That was like,
it's a little creepier, and like some scenes, like there's a whole old Western scene.
Yeah.
Which to me, I was like, where does this fit into anything?
but it was but it was in, but they actually have it in, it was near Big Thunder. So it was in.
So that makes sense.
Anyway, that was a really, really neat thing. So that was very different. Big Thunder itself was more reminiscent of Disneyland again, because it has the effects.
Yes,
the special effects that work.
Now, is the park itself kind of the size of Disneyland? I mean, is it that small-ish park? Because there are two parks there, correct? Disneyland Paris and then the Walt Disney Studios.
Walt Disney Studios.
Now, is that going to be more of your California Adventure-ish type park where you have more properties, like Marvel stuff was in that park. Is that right?
That reminded me of California Adventure.
Okay.
Yes.
Walt Disney Studios reminded me of that, and like a little bit of Hollywood, but more California Adventure.
More California Adventure, because they had like the Crushes coaster in the back. Up front they had the Marvel Adventures Campus, which they had the Web Slingers, but they also had a different ride too.
Yeah, that's right. That was fun. Tower of Terror. That was a little bit different, which was really cool because they focus on the little girl more.
Yeah.
So it's kind of creepier because the little girl is like, you hear her voice and whatnot.
With me.
Yeah.
Come play with me.
And then
like
Space Mountain. Oh my gosh, Space Mountain. That one I would say is my favorite.
That was so cool.
Of the 3 Space Mountains I've been on, that one is excellent.
That one
is there. Go ahead.
I was gonna say but it's not in Tomorrowland. Kyla, what do they call it over there? It's
Discoveryland.
Discoveryland.
Okay.
Very Jules Verne, like.
Yes, with the
steampunk,
the submarine. The submarine that you could like walk through. So we thought it was a ride or like an attraction or something. So we were like walking down, and then we realized it's not a ride. We're just walking down through and back out. So that was pretty cool though. Just like a little.
Did you just walk in and have a seat waiting for you're like, when is the ride gonna move? We've been sitting here for like 20 minutes.
But they had like little movies that would like little vignettes would play. We're like, oh, okay, this is cool. All right. So
yeah, watch it for a minute and move on. So we were like,
how was Small World?
Oh,
it was cute. It was cute. I will say Disneyland's version in California is my favorite because I love that they added the characters. But this one was really cute too. They did a great job.
Yeah, they did. It was more of the outdoor entry like Disneyland, but yeah, I would agree. Disneyland's is still my favorite Small World, but it was good. It was really good.
Do they use a Fast Pass system or a Genie Plus system or anything like that out there? Like I haven't studied up on Disneyland Paris, unfortunately. So what are the ride skipping mechanisms they have out there?
So we did it. It is not Genie Plus. It is not Fast Pass. It is called
Premier Pass. The Premier Pass. Oh, I thought that was the prompt. Got it. Yes, Premier Pass.
Oh, Kyla knew. She was waiting for you, Jenn.
She was just testing me.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, the Premier Pass. So you could pre-purchase it for the whole day, which you looked at the price, Kyla, because I didn't. It was on your account.
150-ish, maybe.
No, I think it was like what? Oh yeah, American, because I think it was 125 euros.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
I'm just thinking American. So we were trying to think, basically we had one day there, 10 hours, 11 hours, whatever it is. Yeah. We wanted to get our each of us had like a priority basically, and we wanted to make sure we did all those. So you could also like pay per ride basically. So we like added up what we wanted to do and compare it against the Premier Pass, which Premier would have been way more. What was nice though is that we were able to walk onto some rides, and we bought the ones that we really wanted to do, like Hyperspace, Phantom Manor. We didn't even have to buy anything. We just walked on. We caught it at like
timed it with the parade. It's because we timed it with the parade.
Exactly. So there were a few that we bought to make sure that we could get on, and then so we saved 150 times 4. Do the math.
Yeah. I mean, we probably spent. I think we calculated we spent like what, 60 euros a person on the individuals, which
maybe.
So from the way you described it, it sounds like it's more of like an express pass at Universal where you pay for the ride and you walk up versus having to go on your app and reserve a ride, getting callback time or getting a whatever time to come back for it. I mean, it's just a walk up. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And they still have the wait times on the app. So we would just sort of time it and be like, oh, okay, Snow White, because they still have Snow White out there. Right. So we're like, we're going on Snow White. I'm like, okay, so Snow White's 20 minutes. Let's go over here and then we'll see what the wait is like for this and we'll buy it if we need to. But I would say that the system worked well. We didn't have an issue getting on anything we wanted to get on.
I thought it was great. We streamlined it. Like we went in, clockwise to get through all the lands. We went to Walt Disney Studios, and then we actually went back to Disneyland at night because Jenn and I went on the teacups. We wanted to do the teacups because I feel like we've done in every park. And just as like throwing it out there, they serve champagne on Main Street in Disneyland Paris. So that was kind of.
So you spent a lot of time on Main Street. I got you.
It was actually pretty hidden. It was.
We could not find it. We had to ask a number of cast members who kind of chuckled, and they gave us stickers. Remember, because I think they thought maybe we were cute asking or something.
They were because we went and bought macarons in one of the Main Street bakeries, and we're like, well, of course you're going to get a macaron. We're in France,
Right.
Like,
and I'm like, I
he
need
was
to find
laughing.
the champagne. Where is it? And he's like, oh, it's at the end. So we found it. It was like tucked around the corner. But I'm like, oh, that's so quintessential. Like, I'm drinking a glass of champagne on Main Street in Disneyland Paris. Like, it was very French.
Yes, it was very.
Which leads me to the next question, Jenn. How was the food, and Kyla, how were the drinks? There at the parks. I mean,
so the food was actually. I mean, I think Kyla will agree with this. I thought the food was good, and what's funny is we didn't do a sit down because we did only have a little bit of time, right? So we weren't going to spend a lot of time in a sit down restaurant, but we were starving around noon. So we go to this quick service in Discoveryland, and I'm like, oh, nuggies, like chicken nuggies, we're good. Let's just grab some of those,
right?
And Kyla, you grabbed what was the Darth Vader waffle? It was like
it's like the Nutella waffle, but it was like Darth Vader shaped, so good.
Yeah, so we walked up and literally, I get these nuggies. It's €6, so I'm like, I'm expecting normal, like normal whatever. These are like legit chicken in this like batter that you would go to a sit down restaurant for, but it's just like in a little paper cone. I'm like, this is like an actual, like, this is not a nuggie. This is like amazing. It was,
you get like 12, not 4.
You got like 12. It was a lot. It was a lot of nuggies.
Nice.
That was a good deal. And we actually, Disneyland Paris is much like Magic Kingdom, where there are not kiosks other than the champagne for like beers or cocktails or anything else. That was Walt Disney Studios, correct, which had like, I would say like a miniature Epcot area.
It's like a mini food and wine.
Yeah, it was like a tiny little food and wine festival. I don't even know if it was a festival or if they're just there all the time. It's like 4 little kiosks. It was like, or maybe
no,
5
they're like
or
6. I think there were 6.
It was like
somewhere
in the back. Corner. Yeah, and they were just like all different food and drinks. I think Frank and I had some sangria, and we tried Spain. Yes, Spain. Yeah, so that's where I would have got the sangria. And then there was like Greece, maybe sushi. There was pizza,
Italy,
something else.
And there were like 2 other ones.
So it was really cute. But that was great. Like we sat down and the 4 of us kind of like had a snack and sat and relaxed, and it was great. Yeah. But that would be the part where you would find the cocktails. Not that I was trying to drink, because again, we only had 10 hours. So
we only had 10 hours, and we were flying out the next day. So we had to be up early.
Yeah.
Well, this could be an entire series of interviews of just like, what about this? What about that? What about so I will try to wrap up my questions, but I do want to find out about the Marvel area, because it looks cool. I know that there's the web slingers out there, but there's is it they're not an Iron Man coaster out there? Is that okay? Did you guys get to ride that?
Yeah.
And how was it?
Really
Iron Man speaks in French.
Yeah, well, that was where
Je m'appelle Tony Stark.
So. The characters were like French and English back and forth.
Yeah.
And remember we walked by, was it Gamora or somebody, and you're like, they're speaking in English. I'm like, I didn't even realize that. Like, I was just.
But it was funny because one would speak in French and one would speak in English. Like literally, Iron Man is like doing French, and then Captain Marvel would respond in English. So it's like you could keep up with what was, and I do speak enough French that I could. But if it's going pretty rapidly, then I can't. But you can keep up with a conversation because you're like, oh, okay, based on her response, this is what he said. And I'm sure vice versa. If you didn't speak English, like, okay, well, based on what he's asking, this must be what her response was. But it's basically you're saving the galaxy. And it was, I mean, that was a coaster.
I thought that was a good one.
Awesome.
And I was really surprised. There was not a long wait for that one. Like I thought it would have been much longer based on, Disney World roller coasters all the time. But yeah, that was great. That was a great little area. And I believe they had the Pim's Kitchen too, didn't they?
They did. They had Pim's Test Kitchen, although it was a sit down, as I recall, versus a table service.
It was a table service.
Yeah. Yeah. Versus a quick service in California. But it was like a launch coaster. Like it was like upside down.
It's gotten various reviews. There are people
there.
that like it, people that don't, and so I wasn't sure exactly how you guys react to it, which I'm glad you loved it, which is awesome. And of course, I know that there's a Crushes coaster out there, which sounds like it's cool, which almost sounds like a kid coaster, or is it a full size like actual roller coaster?
We did not get to that.
We did not get all the way back there. However, it is a real roller coaster. Like that's a coaster. So
nice.
Yeah, that's a newer one. We just didn't make it. I think that was the only big ride we didn't make it on.
So this is both your first times at Disneyland Paris, is that right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you went back, is there anything you would do differently? Is there anything you're like, you know what? Now that I know I've been here already, I'm going to do this a little bit differently because I think I know now these things. What would you guys do differently if you go back?
I'd probably add another day on.
I mean, I would just stay on site. I would stay on site for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay on site a couple of days, hoppers. Actually, what was great is that we went to downtown Disney there for dinner that night because we were hungry and wanted to eat before we went back into the city.
Hungry too.
Yeah. And we realized, we walked through the whole downtown just to see what was there. We realized that it's kind of like a Saratoga to Disney Springs type thing. Like the hotels were just on the other side. So it's like super convenient. And you could see the crowds walking through back to the hotel. But yeah, I think like Jenn said, I would stay on site. I would add another day. I'd love to bring the girls because I think they would just absolutely love that. And definitely the hoppers because you can walk between the two parks. It's like a 3-minute walk.
Reminds me a lot of Disneyland. This is what it sounds like. There's a lot of Disneyland vibes to it. Small park, they're close by, things like that. And final question, I guess, what advice would you give to a client who comes to us because we're Upon a Star Travel and Concierge, comes to us and says, hey, I want to go for a day at Disneyland Paris. I'll be in the area. Give me a day. What advice would you give to somebody as they're kind of touring and they're kind of going in there for the very first time?
I think just starting the day off, I think Ubering was actually pretty convenient.
It was.
Yeah. Instead of taking the metro, I was going to say the tube and then I was going to say the T and then it's the metro.
One of those.
Instead of taking the metro, especially because you don't know what time you're going to end your day. So either Ubering or like booking a private transfer, then that way you can kind of give yourself the time. So actually Uber would be the best.
Well, meaning if you're living in Paris, not living in Paris, if you're staying in Paris proper versus on site.
Yeah. And, definitely get the hopper to give you the flexibility going back and forth because there were things we loved in both parks. And I think both parks could reach a lot of families with like different age kids.
Yeah. I think I would also just tell people, especially if you are a frequent Disney goer, don't be afraid, to do things that you've already ridden in America because they are different. Right. And B, take the time to look at all the details because again, the Imagineers did such an amazing job. And there was so much, like we just stop and like look how cool this is. And like zoom in on whatever that was just so beautiful. Like the landscaping and like Kyla said, the little whirly doodle statue.
Metal things.
Like I think Whirly Doodle is actually the official name for it. I could be wrong.
Probably
that's actually the name.
I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
It sounds like a cool park. I want to go one of these days. I think Jenn, you should set up an agency trip over there. I don't know if everybody can come, but we'll figure it out, right? And so yeah, I think it would be awesome. I would love to go out there. I've read all the lore and the history. I know I've read the books about Eisner setting it up and blah 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 whatever. And it took a while for it to get going, but now it's an incredible park. And so I would like to go one of these days when you'll let me. We'll get there eventually. So Paris has not really been my thing. I could care less about France or other places I want to go, but I do want to go to Disneyland Paris and because I want to ride the Iron Man coaster because it seems cool. So,
the Iron Man coaster is cool, and I know that on Destination D. There we go. Destination D. I know they announced some new stuff for Disneyland Paris.
Yes.
They're finishing up a refurb. So there's, like the hotels being refurbished and there were a couple construction walls up. Nothing crazy. It's not like Epcot construction.
Right. Right. Nothing is like Epcot construction.
Accurate.
Crazy.
Correct.
Kyla, I know that you've got to get out of here because you've got little princesses coming home to rule the roost as usual. So tell us where we can find you online. Where can we hunt you up and follow and stalk all your adventures?
You can follow me on Instagram at DisneyGeek27 and on Facebook at Kyla Milberg travel agent at Upon a Star Travel. Those are my two things.
And let's be honest, next week when you see my pictures, you likely will see her tagged in a lot of them because that's just what happens when we all get together. And so, of course, Jenn, where can we find you? Jenn, the same way. Jenn, where can we find you?
At Upon a Star Jenn or at Jenn_Navati.
Perfect. Find me on Facebook at Magic on a Dollar and Disney on a Dollar. Find me, of course, on Instagram at The Magic on a Dollar. And of course, Upon a Star Travel on all the places, on the TikTok and the Twitters and the Instagrams and all the stuff. You can find us everywhere. We're all over that place. And if you want to go to Disneyland Paris or anywhere else, Disney destinations or not, cruises all over the world, we got
Sandals,
you
beaches,
info
all those places.
at uponastartravel.com. We're happy to help you go wherever you need to go, because that's what we do. So ladies, this has been a good little conversation about Disneyland Paris. Hopefully has piqued some interests and stuff. And so Kyla, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
And for Jenn, I'm Dave. This is the Main Street Electrical Podcast. And don't forget to say bonjour to your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.